Well, thank you and welcome everybody. It's so good to see you here. I'm just going to quickly shift myself in here and then this will be recorded. And I'm so grateful to John for supporting me during this. And without further ado, let's just kick this off. So welcome to Activate the Strategy in Your DNA with your Blueprint Code. And I'm excited to share this with you today. So I'm Natasha, and I'm inviting you to step into something that you already carry. And we're going to start looking at the energy of your DNA and the information that we can extract from it as well. So not only are we going to do a small activation today within your DNA, but I'm going to show you, and this is my passion, in how to access the information that you already have within, because it is my belief that everything that we learn is really a remembrance. So I'm just going to tell you off the bat that I'm not going to teach you anything. I'm going to help you remember the knowledge and wisdom that you already carry within you. So you're not here by accident. Either you've been called to this workshop or this masterclass, or you've been dragged in by a friend, and thank you to all those friends. But one thing is for sure, you're here because you're meant to be here. And we're moving through these massive times of acceleration, whether it's through AI, the economies, whatever it might be. And sometimes we can find that a little bit kind of like, it takes us off our center. And this is an amazing tool that I'd like to share with you that will keep us grounded and helping us to connect in with who we are. And AI, it has it's been reshaping everything. It's got algorithms. It can write, it can calculate, but it can't feel, at least not just yet. It can't love. You can't be replaced. And this absolutely helps us to connect into our humanity and keep accessing the blueprint that already exists within us. So let's start this by arriving, and I'm going to ask you to just take a couple of minutes and close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And bring your attention from the outside world internally. And again, just inhale deeply, filling your lungs, your body, your energy field. And as you exhale, release the tension, the stress, or any distractions that you carry with you from the day that you've had, or perhaps the day you're about to have. And just feel that ground beneath your feet, feel it supporting you. And this is time that you've taken out for you. You'll take one more deep breath and exhale. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Welcome to the here and now. Before we get into the blueprint codes, let me introduce myself as well. So I'm Natasha Rosha, and I've spent years working in the Akashic Records, and I'll talk about what are the Akashic Records a little bit later in the presentation. I've used the Akashic Records to really guide leaders and entrepreneurs in aligning with their soul's blueprint, because one thing that I know is that when we aren't living our blueprint, we are faced with burnout, feeling stuck. We hit walls. It just, we don't feel like ourselves. And that's a lot of the times is because we've been running somebody else's programs. So I'd like to reconnect you with your own programs, your own strategies. And it's not to say that the other strategies go out the window. It's working with that and learning how to decode that. So let's look at a few things that we are facing in this day and age as we move forward through our time. So absolutely facing, navigating like the shifts of AI and the changes intense at the moment. The markets are shifting, as I was saying, and disruption at the moment isn't here to knock us down. We need to look at things for it's inviting us to think differently. And that is what is exciting about the times right now. It's given us all these opportunities, all these tools to really think differently. And it's not the question that a lot of us ask is, how can I keep up? It's not about that. It's how do I realign so that I can ride this wave with ease, in work, in our relationships, and in our own well-being, because a lot of us are being hammered with our health at the moment, and it's we're experiencing burnout, because we're so taught to push harder. But when we're in that alignment space, we're actually able to do more with less. When we're bringing in that balance, into our lives and into our careers and our businesses, we're able to move faster whilst standing still. And it's taking that moment to take that deep breath that is coming in as well. So the weight of leadership as well, especially when everybody's looking towards us to like, what is the next direction that we're moving into? We carry this invisible load of not only the companies that we run, but our families as well, our relationships in the middle of this chaos. And when we're connected into our inner code, we're never really alone. It's like we're plugged into a greater guidance system, and that helps us to feel more connected, right? We're in this data era as well. So, dashboard reports, endless to-do lists, the noise is everywhere, but the information is useful to us, but the wisdom that we have or that we hold helps us really cut through that data or look for something else or grab the data that is actually important for us. And we bring that data in, whether it's, in our businesses, in our careers, or in our homes. So, we're also faced with that sometimes. It's like we have this long-term goal, but all these little kind of like fires, these, start to come up. And it's really about looking at how these little fires that are coming up that we're extinguishing, propelling us in the right direction or helping us to pivot or align or be agile to respond to what's going on. It's very, very important. But most importantly, what I'm finding right now is maintaining our humanness within this. And like I said, technology, AI has, yes, it's an amazing tool, but it doesn't replace our humanity. And sometimes we forget about that because we're caught in that hustle and bustle of what's happening every day. So AI has algorithms, like I say over there, but you have soul strategy. And it's not about opposing it, it's about working together, because that's what makes it powerful. Because this change is happening and it's going to keep accelerating. But how do we respond to it in a way that supports us? So as we move through these, we tend to fall into cycles. And I do a lot of kind of like ancestral healing and looking at what are the cycles, what are the patterns, and hustling is a huge one. We are so conditioned to push harder, to move faster, to really, I'll sleep next week, I'll sleep tomorrow, but this is not sustainable anymore, right? It's sometimes I call it spinning my wheels, and I find myself in that because we are just taught, okay, you have to be busy. The busyness is what makes us important, but it's not, because sometimes we don't feel like we're moving forward. Moving forward in a busy way and not moving in the right direction, it brings us out of alignment. Sometimes our success feels hollow. It's like we've been told, white picket fence, this is how life should look like. And we still end up finding ourselves like we climb that career ladder, we grow our businesses, we have the family life, that everybody tells us we should be having, but yet it feels hollow. And that perfect picture of a life, I call that like, that's for Instagram. But that's marketing. It's not what's really happening in the background, but it's how does one really kind of like fit into the version of doing what expands us and really brings us joy. right? We tend to repeat these inherited patterns. It's not even conscious, right? So some of the cycles we carry of family expectations, the cultural beliefs that we have, or even old workplace conditioning that we transfer from one job into the other, one workplace into the other. And we end up replaying these scripts. So how do we interrupt them? How do we change? How do we stop dating the same type of person? How do we stop attracting the same type of manager, the same type of employee over and over again? It's not outside of ourselves. It's something that we're working through inside of us. And then the fear of being replaced, fear that something else is coming better. And it's that, what if we can't keep up? So these cycles aren't our destiny. These cycles are here because we've meant to change them. And they're just signals for us. They're simply showing us, where we are operating really outside of our alignment. I always see them as opportunities to look. So take a moment and reflect if any of these scenarios, and these are just a few, there's many of them. This is what I notice within myself, and my clients tend to show up quite often. So let me know if any of those fit for you as well. But what if I were to tell you that there is a key that unlocks all of this, right? In business, that means having that direction that we know, not needing to second guess ourselves. In our career is really knowing when to trust, when to step up, when to pivot, when to align, when to move, when to stay. Right? What are the opportunities that fit our path? And in life, what that looks like is it feels steady in our relationships, our health is good, and our choices shape our everyday constantly. There is the key that unlocks this kind of clarity, and it lives within our blueprint. And when we access it, doubts start to soften, confusion clears, and our next steps become unshakably clear. My belief is that this key is already within you. It's your DNA. It's your energetic DNA. Our soul goes through so much to choose our parents, to choose the environments that we're born into, to choose the life, the career that we're here to experience. It has our destiny, right? Our blueprint isn't a fixed fate. And this is where sometimes the question is, I don't know if you've been asked this, if we have if everything's already predestined, where does free will come into it? And perhaps that's a conversation we can have on another day. It's quite interesting how the Akashic Record starts to bring that up as well. But these codes carry our purpose, our gifts, our challenges. They carry the natural way that we create, the way we relate, the way we lead, the way we're meant to lead, the way we want to lead, the way that expands us. And let's face it, all of us are here because we are trailblazers. We've come to make the change. And we have this encoded in our DNA. It knows how to guide us back into alignment. Sometimes things happen in our path, and a lot of the times it's like big things, whether it's a health scare, whether it's something that happens at work, and it completely pivots us into a new direction. That is our blueprint calling us into passion, calling us into purpose. So think of your blueprint as your DNA for the soul. Physical DNA shapes your body. Energetic DNA shapes how your soul moves through this lifetime, through this world, how you feel, how you connect, all of that is there. There's one thing that's for sure, is that you hold the power to all of this, and that you are consciously creating your lives, whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. Sorry, we are always co-creating our lives, which is amazing. So in life, our blueprint influences how we show up in our relationships, and how we heal our bodies, how we find our joy, and what keeps us lit. In our career, it guides our roles, the environments that we're in, the opportunities that we show up. And in business, the energy behind the leadership, our offers, our services, our message, and our presence is all encoded. So when we're in alignment with our blueprint, there is flow and things start to click back into place. When we're not in alignment with it, things get stuck. Things start to move. Things feel heavy. And we start thinking, okay, it becomes a lot of heavy lifting. So really, that's how we can tell we're not in alignment with who we are. We're living somebody else's dream. We're living somebody else's passion. We're living somebody else's blueprint, as it were. So let's activate it in the sense of how, right? How do we do this? The way I do this, and there are many ways of doing this, the way I do this is to activate it through the Akashic records. And the Akashic records are really a library where that key gives you access to that full design of your life, your career, and your business. Some people find it through hypnotherapy. Through it is kind of like a coming into presence, a coming into now, the way I access it, or some might call it meditation or a prayer, but that allows us to actually be able to consciously do it when we need to do it as well. So the Akashic records are really the a field of intelligence that holds the memory of every choice, every pattern, and every possibility for ourselves and for everything. But we're more concerned about ourselves here as well. So we start to learn that the Akashic records aren't outside of ourselves, and we access them through focused presence and becoming completely grounded. I like to think of the Akashic record. I used to call it the Google of the spiritual world, because you have access to everything. It's far more than Google. But it's a library. Some people tend to see it as a library because us as humans tend to equate knowledge and wisdom with books and scrolls. You could even see it as a data cloud, I suppose. So instead of spreadsheets and reports, it stores your life path, your inherited patterns as usual. And unlike iCloud, there's no upgrade for more storage, which is really annoying, or any of those pop-ups that come up with that. But really, the Akashic records and the quantum field are really the unified source of energy and information. So I'm going to teach you how to tap into this energetic highway, but your specific highway, which is important. So unlike technology, the Akashic records doesn't actually respond to clicks. It responds to frequency. So as we shift our frequency, we unlock that information that is ready for us as well. And we do this from a place of receiving, right? So focus presence, as I say, is one of them. Strategic reflection, definitely. The intention and alignment to what it is that we're wanting to access becomes important. Intentional language, like data, what you put in is what you get out. So the questions that you ask within us, and I'm going to run us through an exercise where we will ask a question today. So if you have something to write with or to journal, bring it in and keep it a little bit handy, because we'll be able to download the information for you today. I'm going to teach you how to test drive this blueprint code, which is brilliant. When we start to combine these practices, we enter a state of consciousness where the records are available to us. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start putting action where it needs to be. I'm going to take us through a journey into the Akashic records, where we're going to be doing a clearing. So where we release the limitations and prepare ourselves to receiving. I'm then going to ask a question, which I'm going to guide you through all of this. There's nothing that you have to do but to be here now. And then I'm going to activate energetically that blueprint for us. And then I'll take us through a quick program, and then I'll open up to questions and answers. So thank you for trusting me in this process. And I'm going to ask you to make yourselves comfortable and close your eyes while I take you on this beautiful journey to activate your blueprint. So take a slow, deep inhale through your nose. Hold it gently and exhale out through your mouth. And again, inhale and exhale. Imagine that you're breathing in light, and when you exhale, release the tension, the stress, the expectation that this needs to go one way or another. With each breath, find yourself moving away from the noise on the outside and into your body, into a state of calm. Keep breathing at a pace that feels right and natural for you, unhurried. Let your shoulders soften, let your jaw relax, let your mind slow down. Nothing to do, nowhere to be, but here and now. Now I'm going to invite you to imagine a diamond white grid of light deep in the center of the earth, strong, stable, and luminous. See this light rising towards you, moving upward until it reaches the soles of your feet. As it touches you, you start to feel an exchange of energy between you and this grid. You start to feel grounded, supported, and steady. Allow this energy to move up through your body, filling you with stability and calm focus. Every cell within your body begins to absorb the strength. You are anchored, you are unshakable, you are grounded. Breathe. Now picture a golden grid of light ascending from above you. This grid's energy is the grid of clarity, higher intelligence, and unconditional support. It travels down through the atmosphere until it reaches the top of your head. Feel this golden energy streaming into you, dissolving the blocks, clearing the mental clutter, opening new levels of awareness. Allow the energy of this grid to move down through your mind, your voice, and your heart, helping you see with clarity, speak clearly, and lead with authenticity. Finally, the energy of this golden grid connects with the diamond white grid inside of you. Both of them integrating into your heart. And we start to feel completely grounded, completely centered, and completely connected. As both energies interlock and balance within us. Feel yourself filled with strength and clarity. Now, let's enter into the Akashic records. I will guide you. Bringing your focus into your heart space. Let's use the mantra. Repeat in your mind if it resonates. Keepers of the Akashic Records, please open and allow me access to my records. My name is, state your full name. And I ask that you open up the records of my business or my department, career. State the name. And create a safe and sacred space for this connection, aligning me with my highest potential. The records are now open, the records are now open, the records are now open. Stepping over the threshold without expectation, without judgment, just open to what arises. Trust any images, any words, or any simple knowing. It is all true. Take a note, just see what it feels like. Perhaps you see something, perhaps colors, maybe symbol, or a space. If you do not see, feel, or hear anything, that's okay. I'm going to ask you to visualize a violet flame surrounding you, not only permeating your field, but moving through all aspects of you, physically, etherically, mentally, and emotionally. Set the intention and ask the flame to dissolve all inherited blocks, doubts, fears, old stories about money, worth, or success. However it represents itself, release it, remove it, dissolve it. Allow it to clear the weight of family expectations, cultural patterns, and past setbacks. Feel these burdens burning away, creating space for clarity and fresh energy. And we set the intention, I release all inherited blocks in business, career, and relationships and life. I activate my own blueprint code. Now bring your attention to your blueprint code, perhaps a radiant sphere of light before you. We're going to ask a question. Think about the question. What is my current blind spot in life? Allow whatever information or thoughts come through. What are my blind spots in business or my career? Ask the next question. What are my blind spots in my relationships? What are my blind spots with money or prosperity? Now ask the question, what are the solutions encoded in my blueprint code? Trust the clarity that arrives, however it arrives. And I invite you to step into the blueprint code, however it's being shown to you. Feel it merge with you, flowing through every cell, through every strand of your DNA. Allow your system to awaken. Allow the memory of who you truly are switch on. Embody your highest potential. The version of you that sees clearly, chooses confidently, and acts in alignment with who you are. And we set that intention, activating the highest expression of our blueprint code today, aligning with the solutions already written within you. Now allow your highest version of yourself to reveal itself for your life, for your business, and for your career. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that sound like? See yourself living it now. Feel how it looks, how it feels, how it flows. Notice the clarity, the confidence, the impact. Your body, your mind lock into this frequency and it becomes real. I align with my highest version. I choose clarity. I choose confidence. I choose alignment. Now take a deep breath and let the activation settle into your body. Every cell carries this new frequency. Your entire system, physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, is aligning. This is not theory. Embody it. Allow the activation to take the time that it needs, and let's start making our way back. Let's close the records by giving thanks and gratitude to the keepers of the Akashic records for the wisdom, guidance, and understanding that we have received today. Return fully into this present moment, grounded and whole. The records are now closed, the records are now closed, the records are now closed. Take a deep breath and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Journal, take notes of the information you received because it might be fresh in your memory now, but it will start to fade. I'll give you just a moment to do that. Okay. Before I open up to sharing and questions and answers, I'm sure there are many questions that you might have for me, and I'd love to hear about your experiences. I'm just going to quickly get the final slide, which is all about, the Blueprint Code Mastermind, a 12-week journey that I've created that will move through 9 areas or 9 zones of your Blueprint Code, each of them looking at what needs to be cleared, what are our limitations that need to be cleared, what needs to be recognized, and what new codes need to be brought in. And within those areas, we'll look at, your business, your life, your career, and we start to unlock the beautiful strategy of why you are here. It helps it to gain clarity in our decisions that we're making. And the beautiful part of it is that we're joined by a community of, leaders and visionaries that are here to really activate their true design. And this beautiful community that we create, which is no bigger than 10 people, we really become a support network for each other, in helping each other excel in life and in business. But this program really isn't for the faint-hearted, these 12 weeks, because we really, really do get to do the work, and we do get mirrored with, what are our limitations and what needs to be released. But the beautiful thing is, and I've done this program for a few years now, is that it helps you to respond consciously, in alignment, and authentically to anything that life, your career, or business throws at you. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to stop the share and open up to any comments, suggestions, and questions, or experiences that you might have had. Would anybody like to share?
Sure, I'll get us started.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I got the sensation of like the jungle floor and like this verdant, like fertile ground, and then like these green shoots of like my true self kind of bursting out from underneath that, kind of like some part of me that I'd forgotten, like was growing again. And out of that unpacked all of this information. Fresh approach to business, fresh approach to relationships, fresh approach to money, just like a whole bunch of stuff just came out, which was pretty wild. I've drawn this like picture of this weird plant.
That's amazing. Absolutely. I love that because a lot of the times when we feel stuck or we don't see a direction that we're going in is because we've actually been planted or seeded and we're discovering how do we want to emerge. So I love that you have all this newness that's coming out for you and being able to really shift. So that's quite exciting to unpack that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of detail there, actually, but I'll open the floor to Luther. You've got your microphone off.
No, it's on.
Well, go for it. Folks,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you have something to say.
Natasha, I'm busy compiling an email to you.
Okay.
I have no clue what this is about. I missed
Okay.
it in totality. It
Okay.
seems like we kind of enhance balance in
Yes.
total different ways. And I
That's
have
okay.
no clue of yours.
Okay.
In terms of I get things done by
Yes.
doing, not
Absolutely.
by thinking.
Oh no, I agree with
Yeah.
you. It's
Yeah.
not by
See,
thinking.
yeah.
It,
Yeah. No, what I say is in
yeah.
terms of, it might be worthwhile a further one-on-one exploration in terms of, let me just share in terms of, I'm busy compiling. I like what you do. Maybe there's a facet in my life I do not know about.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, in my mature life,
Yes.
I've reached a certain wisdom
Mm-hmm.
that works for me and I
Yes.
can share and it works for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no clue what you do. I
Okay.
cannot understand it. It doesn't touch me. It doesn't resonate with me. I'm totally confused with what you are doing.
And that's okay. And I'd love to explore that with you. That's
Please, I
absolutely
would love
fine.
that. Yes.
Because what I love doing is finding out what your uniqueness is. That aspect of what is your blueprint, and that's okay. And I understand
Yeah.
that this is not for
Yes.
everyone. But yeah, I'd love to explore a one-on-one with you just to see what that's
Yeah.
all about.
Yeah. And unfortunately, in terms of being a very a pragmatic Christian, it sounds,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of records and type of thing, it seems like sort of kind of doing some idol worshipping or something.
Oh
It
no.
doesn't resonate with me at all.
Okay. Well, the Akashic Records in the Bible is known as the Book of Life.
Okay. Yeah. You see, but not knowing that,
Yes.
it seems
Yes.
like you are calling up spirits and
Oh
worshipping
yes.
idols. That is
Yes.
what my
No.
experience was.
I'm so,
It's,
you know
it's,
what, Lisa? I love your honesty. This is awesome. No, thank you for sharing that with me.
okay.
No, there's a whole course dedicated to what are the Akashic Records and how to work
Mm.
with it and the different names that it has been throughout
Yeah.
life. So yes, absolutely. I would love to explore this with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
100%.
Anybody else getting in information?
We've got a question from Sarah in the chat.
Oh. Okay, so Sarah says, I don't see things visually. Any tips on how to experience the Akashic Records and the insights so that accessing visually or audibly? Yes. So I'll tell you how I access. A lot of the times that I access is just a knowing, which is a way of doing that. So it's in connecting into your spidey senses, and it's almost kind of like Luther says, he's got this wisdom that he just knows what to take action in. So a lot of the times when I am accessing the records, there's a knowing that comes in, and that sometimes is the hardest because we tend to second guess ourselves. So it's that knowing is important.
Expand a little. One of the things with like the knowing is, and I think I saw you doing like something around like limiting beliefs, is like there's like kind of a disconnect between internally between like, okay, like is this programming, is this limiting beliefs that I've just inherited and are coming up in this situation versus is this like true knowing? I think like that's where I kind of struggle. Like, is this intuition or is this my subconscious like behaving based off of the patterns that it's always responded to?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a great question. So usually the guidance that we get usually tends to resonate with us straight away, and then we still got to get that doubt that creeps in 2 or 3 seconds later. Is that programming that is in behind that starts to say, no, you're making this stuff up, which is important to know. So it's almost kind of like, it's like a muscle. The more you practice, the more information you get, the more it starts to resonate. And as we get the information, it's important not only to think it, but then action towards it. And you'll start to know if it feels right or not within you, for sure.
Thank you.
Is that better? Did that answer?
Yes, it did.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Yes, Arshad.
Natasha, thank you so
Yes.
much. Fascinating journey there.
Okay.
To be frank, Natasha, I was closer to where Luther is, and I want to commend, because I was like, what do I say here? Luther's been very courageous, so I'm with Luther on this. My question, Natasha, is, you touched on it earlier on about predetermination and will, and you said we'll pop that, we'll pop that. A lot of this kind of wisdom, like Luther says, it just feels right. There's several elements of it, and from a scientific knowledge perspective, it's more around tacit knowledge, okay? And at a spiritual level, it's more what your soul is saying to you, okay?
Yes.
If you're in that space, and I'm more in that latter space, could you just comment, Natasha, how what you described and all this kind of the cosmic library, how does that fit in with the theory around tacit knowledge? And that's my interest, particularly in this conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So absolutely. No, that's a great question. And yeah, absolutely love your honesty in it. And yeah, that's why I was happy to that Luther also spoke up, because that is one of the biggest things that we work with. So what happens is when we start looking at if something is predetermined, what happens is our soul has, well, it's a belief that we have free will. We make decisions constantly. And that decision will open up a set of possible realities that we do. And I am a strong believer that our thoughts followed by emotions inform our action, right? So it's not to say that one needs to be separate from the other. It's almost kind of like, if I were to talk about, we've been so used to leading with our minds, thinking our way through things, that we're moving into a space where we're not only thinking with our minds, but we're also connecting with our hearts at the same time. So when our hearts and our minds don't actually, when there's a discord, it means that there's another solution that's coming in. And there is a better solution, so much so that when we make a decision and we start to move forward and we feel it with every fiber of our being, that means that it's in alignment. For me, if I were to talk through, in a way, it means that our heart and our head are absolutely in alignment. But I think we've gone through an era where we're used to thinking our way through things, that we're getting to a space that we're losing our humanity, which is bringing in that space of, that heart aspect. So it's really when both of them are aligned, then we're being led by our soul, is my belief system. So it's not about discarding the logic, the information, the system that is there. It's sometimes asking, is there a conscious way of doing this? Is there another way of doing this? Is there, how do I adapt to this? Not from the systems that I've been given, but taking that and maybe expanding and on it, or doing it my way. How do I do it in a different way that I haven't been taught, that sometimes might not be logic? Because a lot of us that are entrepreneurs here, we have ideas that are sometimes out there and people are like, that's never going to work. And you're like, no, I'm going to show you that I can have everything at my fingertips. That comes in. And we start looking at some of those leaders like, Steve Jobs, and there's a lot of people that sit there and they meditate. It's because they're accessing this level of information with the systems that they have. So how do we take that and improve that? And that's where that space of innovation starts to come in, is when you start to really work with, yes, we've got that, but what is behind there? So for example, I have a friend of mine that is a NASA scientist, and he's not only a pilot, but he's an engineer, and he really works with the spacesuits of how the astronauts, when they go outside of the ship, what grounds them so that they don't actually give themselves a heart attack, right? Because there's a lot of that electricity that's happening out there. He downloads these blueprints of the technology that is to be invented, and that's going within. That is not relying on the everyday systems that we've been taught. That is looking beyond that, using that as a foundation, but working beyond that. If that does that answer your question?
It touches on. If I just want to comment, then I'll go quiet, Natasha. Obviously,
please don't go quiet.
Other people that want to come in. I get the head, I get the kind of heart, and you're right about the muscles. If you don't use them, they get wasted. So it's head, heart, and gut. They're the three kind of muscles in the context, I think, what we're talking about, and that's where my training has been, is the head, heart, and the gut. So I'm trying to figure out, when you're accessing these cosmic libraries, which is part of the DNA, I'm trying to figure out, is it more of a holistic thing, or is there one muscle particularly? Because entrepreneurs, you're absolutely correct. They go to a different level compared to somebody who's very risk averse, who's quite, head kind of focused in terms of their decision making. So I'm trying to figure out, this cosmic library, are you looking at it more holistically, or is it very much head and heart, but then the gut is there? And I'm trying to figure out where all this is captured in tacit knowledge, and how can we capture and codify it and share it with other people? That's where my interest is.
Yeah, fantastic. So it is working on it holistically. So holistically, the way that I see it is, yes, it is head, heart, and gut, which I see it physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, which is all connected into that as well. So that is where it's bringing in that holistic aspect. The Akashic Records is actually based in India, and which has been around, since the beginning of time. It was actually a Madame Blavatsky that in the turn of the 18th century brought it into the West, and we started working with it as well. It has been connected into very kind of like a mystical thing, but I brought it into a practicality in a sense of looking at, bringing in like what is a solution that comes in. And it's really that time of taking that space to quieten down and perhaps align the head, the heart, and the gut to say, okay, this is the direction that I want to go in. It's opening up that mind. So it is a holistic aspect of it that is accessed. It's part of the quantum field. It's the collective knowledge. It's tapping into the matrix.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else that has any questions? Hi, James.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I just thought I'd comment. Sorry, I got to know my camera. I just thought I'd comment. When I go through these things, I usually, when I'm very relaxed, I get glimpses of images, and sometimes they go really fast. They're really quick. So what I try to do is write them down. And what I did was some of the images that I had written down, I put it into AI to create an image. And this is the fun thing about AI. The image it created was not really particular to the image that I had thought. And that's the interesting thing about AI. But it's interesting to sort of put things into a method of trying to figure out, well, why are these things popping in my head? Why are they coming to the surface? And so I dropped in the chat what I had. I just typed in the AI, said this word, this word, this word, this word. How do I package this? Like the words that came up with art, pictures, sun, flow, cars, relax, creative, old pictures. And then how do I package that? And then so some of the things that came out with, this was AI. And how, and all I said was create an image out of these words. And this is what I came up with in the chat. So I'll share with everybody. But it's interesting when I do go through sort of a relaxed state, my mind does drift into certain areas and I'm going, okay, I don't like that, or I don't know why I'm thinking of that, but it sort of helps in a way of, if I do get an image or a thought or something that floats to the surface, I try to write it down quickly, and then try to meditate more on it or think about it creatively, and then see where it's going. So why is that coming to the surface? How that applies for me, I guess, in the sense of the past with business is sometimes I'm a very rational person. I'm a very left brain in numbers, finance, mathematics, and stuff like that. But the creative aspect also is there, and it's also coming through in some form or reason. And then you do this unconsciously sometimes. And sometimes you really need, what I find is I really need to think about non-thinking and see what's coming up, as opposed to when you're going through your regular daily life, right? And things like that. So that's some of the things I just wanted to share, and some of the stuff that that came up through this exercise.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I love that you have that. And sometimes, yeah, the images do support us, and sometimes we do need to look at, okay, if we don't have that clarity, again, it's a muscle that we're practicing and using. We'll start to be able to put that information together. I mean, today's exercise was just a very quick exercise. I mean, in trying to actually just access it, the records for ourselves. But yeah, no, there is quite a lot, and the more you practice, the more information you get. I certainly notice that in my meetings, when I do open the records for myself, my meetings tend to go a lot faster, and solutions tend to download a lot faster as well. It just brings in a whole bunch of clarity. And yeah, I love that you work through images as well. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, James. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll just mention one thing in the chat is that I've been working with Natasha for a while now, and what I will say is this is the beginning of the journey. That Akashic Records is not something you open and done. It's like a third arm, right? It's super useful, but not on the first day, right? Okay. That it does, this is why there's a program, and this is why there's a course. Is that there's a little bit of a glimpse of this, but accessing, getting it, getting, it's opened awareness. You get a little bit of a glimpse of what that's like, but there's a lot more to it. That's why there's a program. Is you do this once, it's like, that's kind of interesting. You do this 100 times, and suddenly it's a whole different experience. Like when we have meetings, we're like, no, we open the Akashic record, we open the meeting, and it's like smooth as silk. And like ideas flow because we're like, hey, okay, here's this idea, let's put it together, close it, and that's it. But it didn't happen on the first day. So if you're interested in more of this, I'll I'll drop a link in the chat. If you're interested in finding about the full course, just fill the form out, drop your email, your details in there, and then Natasha can follow up with you and send you much more detail about what, that's why it's a whole course. That's why it takes 12 weeks, right? To really, really integrate this and make it part of your daily kind of operating system. But yeah, I just wanted to share that and say, this is the beginning of the journey. This is to pique your interest, give you a little bit of an experience, and see if there's some kind of a resonance here about whether or not you want to find out the rest of it. So just want to put that out there for another time.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So any other questions before we close off? Well, thank you all very much for listening. Thank you for
Sarah
your time.
wants to know when the course begins.
It begins, the next version will begin on the 12th of January for 12 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But we will be doing a few more of these between now and then. So
I will do.
Details in
yes. So join in, because the practice is brilliant, and I will tweak them for the next ones just to allow. Yeah. Excellent. Yes, Sarah.
Okay.
Is there, could I work with you? I'm kind of on a timeline. Could I work with you just one-on-one for a couple sessions to get moving?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. On my website, there is just a book a booking system. So just book an Akashic session and we'll get working on that.
Okay.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have an amazing day, everybody. And thank you for your time. That was wonderful. Thank you.